Okay, confession time. I get bored easily, even when I'm doing something I enjoy. If you're like me and struggle with finishing tasks, you know how frustrating that can be. But I've come up with some systems and habits that keep the ball rolling, and maybe sharing them helps someone in need. Drawing from my experience as a creative professional, as well as your average human being, I've discovered some tips that can significantly boost your motivation and productivity. And don't worry, I won't tell you to wake up at 5 a.m. or completely change who you are. But I will rip the band-aid off quickly and tell you it might involve some note-taking and a simple calendar.
How dare you!
It's easier than it sounds and can make a world of difference, especially in relation to your tasks and your self-esteem. Let's set a scene with the situation that I'm sure many of us have faced. You start something full of excitement and motivation. Ideas flow and the vision of a better you is intoxicating. But as time goes on, the excitement fades. Suddenly you're staring at a half-finished task, feeling frustrated and overwhelmed. The motivation you once had is nowhere to be found, and the insidious desire to abandon the task crosses your mind more and more. I've been there countless times. From tackling creative projects to working out or just cleaning the house. The challenge here is that losing motivation isn't just about feeling lazy or uninspired. There are deeper factors at play that make it hard to keep going. One is the overwhelming feeling of having too much to do and not knowing where to start. Another one is the fear of not meeting expectations, not being good enough for yourself or for others. Then, there's the lack of immediate feedback or rewards, which makes it hard to stay focused and committed long term. Finally, one of the most important factors is not accepting how you function. Stay till the end and I'll add one more as a bonus. Alright, let's get to the point and tackle each of these one by one. Overwhelming tasks. I'm sure you've heard of this and deal with it constantly, especially if you're like me. And you already know the solution. Write it down and break it into smaller steps. And even though a lot of people would benefit from doing this, it became obvious to me that there's resistance to the idea. They seem to hear a variation of, "You're too stupid to do the thing, so list every basic step down like the dumb, incapable of walking without thinking of every step person that you are." Listen, recipes work, alright? Breaking down the process into ingredients and actions makes it clear and manageable. With clarity, you can see the path ahead and tackle one step at a time. I need to finish this project becomes I can complete the next item on the list. So grab a piece of paper, a sketchbook, or a whiteboard and break the task down into steps so small it almost makes you laugh. Trust me, it works. Any action that will help in that journey is worth it, even if it feels dumb at first. Not meeting expectations. Comparison is the thief of joy and a major culprit for diminished self-worth. It's shocking how easy it is to know this on a rational level and still feel affected by it. You know that people who seem to have it better didn't get there alone. They had help or favorable circumstances. And if that's not the case, then your context is different, making things harder for you. It's like comparing heartbreak, it's not a competition. People and their stories are all unique. The problem actually stems from values. We crave acceptance and desire to meet expectations because those are the way in which we're considered valuable to society. But when dealing with what matters to you, only your values matter. So how do you actually measure success? Is it speed, resources, meaning, impact, efficiency, development, or something else? And if your answer is likes on social media, then you're tied to external validation. And that is, regardless of what it feels like, absolutely worthless in the real sense, in the real world, and even in the grand scheme of your life. So let's try to manage our own expectations by giving ourselves clear structure and achievable goals for our tasks. I want to clean becomes I'll clean the kitchen for an hour while listening to upbeat music. Reducing pressure and setting your own success criteria will change your perception of self-worth over time. Lack of immediate feedback. There is a reason why games engage us so much, from the most basic card game or board game to the latest video games or even gambling. They're designed to appeal to our need to receive quick feedback for our actions. Social media is built to cater and abuse that need, so we already know of systems that work to positively reinforce certain behaviors, which basically gives us the answer we need. In this case, a subtask from our project task list will give us a clear sign of progress. We can reduce this to the simple format of numbering the subtasks. If we use digital tools, they'll have loading bars or other ways of visually displaying progress. If you use analog tools such as paper or a whiteboard, checking a box or physically erasing and writing the new number is a great way to mark your progress. I personally felt more connected with doing it physically back when I was trying to fix this problem for myself. If you don't feel like ticking boxes does it for you, give it time. You don't actually get the rush from the ticking box, as much as you get it from knowing the system works when you keep using it and the stack of completed projects starts to grow. Self-acceptance. I think this is the most valuable lesson, not just for creatives, but for everyone. It might come more easily with age, when we start to disconnect from external pressures and settle into a familiar place within ourselves and in relation with ourselves. There are some things that just don't apply to you. If you don't like golf, you can't brute force, bully, or discipline yourself into liking it. The same goes for systems. Some people just can't connect to writing down their thoughts in a journal, or meditating, or being very organized, or even washing the dishes. I will never be able to structure or checklist myself into enjoying washing dishes. So what do I do in that case? Bully myself for the rest of my life for not being at least indifferent to the activity? Or accept that it's something that makes me want to rip my skin off and get a goddamn washing machine? The point is, we need to pay attention to how we naturally tend to do things. It did not matter how many times I told myself that my wallet should be in a specific place on my desk. It would always end up on the hallway, on the right side of the mirror. If you tend to work better on cognitive tasks during 2 to 4 p.m., structure your day in such a way that it caters to that tendency. If you're better at sticking to your workout routine in the evening, just do that. Do your best to observe and tailor your life to fit your own personality, your own needs, and your own circumstances. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't work on yourself and improve, but do it with things that really matter to you and have a real impact on the quality of your life. My life is not improved if I force myself constantly to change where I leave my wallet. It just worsens the way in which I view and talk to myself. Here's the bonus tip: flow state. Change doesn't happen overnight. It also does not happen in big leaps. You can change your entire way of life no matter how disciplined someone on YouTube tells you to be. Sustainable and small, almost imperceptible changes are the only way forward, especially for long-term goals. At the same time, the challenge must be significant enough to keep the excitement rolling without becoming too overwhelming or induce anxiety. This is where the magical flow state can provide valuable insight. Generally speaking, it is something often connected to creatives that seem to enter a trance, losing track of time and becoming hyper-focused. Of course, people try to quantify it, so you will find descriptions such as, "the challenge should be 4% greater than the skills." Regardless, the point is that the change has to be very small to give you the satisfaction of progress, while not being too difficult to sustain long term. So, armed with this knowledge, let's see how I applied it to something concrete, like the project I'm working on, Loom Chant. First, I knew I wanted to combine various elements to create a big project. Enough to use my current skills, learn new ones, and challenge myself to keep a schedule, but the main goal was to get used to making myself comfortable with being seen. If we look at the first video in the series, we can see that it provided clarity for the rest of the project. So structure generated structure, improving clarity. Loom Chant included logo design and visual identity, fantasy portraits, a fantasy map, and now fantasy icons. I knew I wanted to combine branding with world building, aiming to display the final project in a landing page format, as well as record, edit, write, narrate, and launch a video every week. During development, I realized I needed to work on the story just a bit more, add a social proof section, which I will use my past characters in, learn a bit more about thumbnails and SEO, and create a reliable system for distributing my work on the platforms I wanted to be active on. This entire first step, in which the vague ideas of Loom Chant was just that, gave me the clarity to proceed with confidence and build a process that helped me achieve that goal, while not turning into a full-time job or losing steam. This is an example of tackling the overwhelming task of starting such a seemingly gigantic project. Secondly, I set my expectations to include small improvements and keep a manageable schedule. I decided that I will publish a new video every Friday at 5 p.m. I also wanted to slowly transition into learning new software, mainly Audacity, the Affinity apps, Krita, and DaVinci Resolve. That took time, but I've switched my entire process now to these tools, so you'll see more of them in the future. In terms of engagement and actual numbers, I just wanted one new subscriber after each video. Achievable and almost laughably small for some, but a great deal to me. In terms of technical abilities, I just wanted to improve a bit with every video. If I enjoyed watching and listening to what I made, I achieved my goal. Now, about self-acceptance. I realized that I don't really find any value in social media. It's not engaging to me anymore on a personal level, and it's a nightmare for someone trying to build meaningful connections. We are all really exhausted by content, aren't we? That's why I've been working on improving my website as best as I can, and it's actually the reason why I missed one Friday. So I accept that I will most likely never manage to gain any significant traction on them, and that's totally fine. I will try to be present on the platforms I do enjoy. Well, mostly YouTube, Patreon, and my website. So subscribe to one of them if you want to keep in touch, will ya? I also accept that the rate at which I've been pumping out videos might not be that sustainable. My goal still is to keep the one-a-week video schedule, but I'm totally fine if I miss it sometimes. As much as I want to maintain the wave, I don't want to create filler stuff that I don't believe in. I find it healthy to be flexible in my definition of success. If anyone is interested and has a specific case in mind, I can make a video about how to actually put all of this into practice. My personal belief, after what feels like a lifetime of personal growth and introspection, is that we need to be kind to ourselves. Protect our passion and respect our energy. I am against the idea of being your own personal tyrant in the hopes of beating yourself into productivity or success. It won't happen, and if it does, it will be at great cost. I actually tried that route for most of my 20s, and nothing good came out of it. Only when I embraced my differences, accepted my needs, and looked for ways to reduce friction between myself and my goals, real and lasting change started to happen. So I hope this brought a bit of useful insight and sparked some motivation in you. or convinced you, even for a moment, to be kind to yourself, that would be a measure of success for me after this video. Just be kind to your soul, pick up that damn pencil and piece of paper, and make a stupid list. You'll be grateful in the long run. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love to hear how you organize and keep yourself moving when tackling big goals. If you don't, what is a reoccurring issue that seems to sabotage your success? Leave a comment and share your thoughts. You can subscribe to never miss another update, either on here, my website, or even on Patreon. I hope you join me next time. Goodbye for now.